Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Side. I'm Paul James Caiden, and in this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the Bigfoot alien connection with paranormal researcher and documentary maker Alan Megargle. He has two videos or documentaries out right now: The Spiritual Bigfoot and The Bigfoot Alien Connection, which I would highly recommend if you're a documentary buff like me and you're tired of sorting through the garbage going, oh my God, what am I watching? This guy is legit. He has some really, really great stuff. I would highly recommend his documentaries. So Alan, thank you so much for coming on the show and taking the time to talk to us about the spiritual Bigfoot, the Bigfoot alien connection. But I guess I want to start out. If you could give us a little background, what got you into this kind of work, fascinated with the paranormal, then things like Bigfoot and the like.
Yeah. Hey, well, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to it for a while since we first talked. But yeah, for me, it was always a fascination from very young. Watching some of these TV shows back in the '90s and things, sightings, and some of the shows like that. And I got into some paranormal stuff when I was going to college. Actually, I took an English class, and we had to do a compare and contrast paper. So I was like, well, I'm going to do it on ghosts, kind of pro and against. And with that, I did some research and did my first ghost hunt, which I captured some unbelievable EVPs that sort of changed things and hooked me. And then it was a number of years later, probably a decade almost later, when I decided to do my first little Bigfoot investigation up in upstate New York, where my parents currently live. I was going up to visit them, and I brought my buddy, and we did a Bigfoot hike, a hike in a Bigfoot sighting area, and had an experience there that really opened my eyes to that. And I was living in Ohio at the time. When I got back to Ohio, I found this whole community there, Bigfoot conferences and all kinds of things, and it just sort of took off from there. I became a member of the BFRO and got training from their top people in Ohio on how to do all this. And I moved out to Colorado, and I started making documentary films. And at one point, paranormal things started happening while I was doing Bigfoot stuff. And we just kind of made the connection that we should just put it all together, which worked really well for me. So now I take all my paranormal gear with me when I go out into the woods, and it's just it all kinds of fits together. It all fits together, and we've been able to capture and tell some amazing stories since then.
Yeah. I know in the spiritual Bigfoot that there was eventually a time where you came to the conclusion that whatever this being is, it's not a physical animal. It's either interdimensional, on the spirit level in some way. Which I want to get into a lot of nuts and bolts about this, because when it comes to Bigfoot, which I'm sure we were just talking about it before we hit record. A lot of haters. It's a big joke. Ha ha, Bigfoot. Oh yeah, what is it, Bigfoot?
Right.
But for those of us that have had any kind of encounter, you know what you saw.
Right.
And there's no going back on this. As I said, I'm gonna share my my personal encounter a little later in the show. But they could shoot me up with sodium pentothal, and I tell the same story just the way I'm going to tell it to you, because I was there. It happened. Other people heard and saw this thing, in an area where it should not have been. This is not like a Bigfoot, area.
Right.
But there was a lot of prelude to that. A lot of paranormal activity in that neighborhood. All the parents, the kids, when we were between 13 and 15, everybody saw, everybody heard something. Everybody went to bed at night saying, oh shit, what's it going to be tonight? Pardon my language.
Right. Right.
It was like being a teenager in the Amityville Horror at times. It was really bizarre. And the whole Bigfoot thing came on top of that. And I've always thought since I was 15, people aren't out there just looking for an animal. This is something else. And as we were talking before the show, it wasn't until I read John Keel's Our Haunted Planet, where he talked about Bigfoot, Mothman, these beings we now call cryptids, being interdimensional, and they're passing through, and the possibility that they may even share the earth with us, but they're different dimension, different plane of existence. We just don't see them until they want to be seen, or sometimes we stumble upon them quite by accident. But what was the that crossover moment for you where you said, "Hey, this isn't some ape man roaming around in the woods that we can, throw a net over and bring to the local zoo, type of thing."
Right. Well, for me, it was, I wanted it to be an ape. That was what I set out to do. And a lot of the people, well, all the people really that sort of helped me learn how to do things and get comfortable in the woods. I mean, that was the first kind of thing, is to get comfortable doing this. So when you really sit down and think about what you're doing, it's crazy.
Yeah.
We're going running into the woods in the middle of the night looking for a big giant ape. Like, what are we doing? So you have to kind of get over that. And that was the first hurdle. And that carried me through that losing the fear of it really helped me understand what was happening. And I resisted. There were a lot of things that were shown to me or told to me that I wanted to put them aside as well. But eventually it got to be too much. And I met Tom Powell, who's an author and investigator out of Oregon. And he opened my mind to this possibility, because he's had experiences too. And he's kind of mentored me, and my father-in-law, who also was really encouraging me to go down this road, to kind of explore these ideas. And it wasn't until I just said, okay, we'll do it your way and see what happens. And it happened, and things started happening. And the more we did, and the more things happened. And it got to the point where I was having very close contact experiences where I didn't necessarily see what it was, but I could feel under a whole shift in energy, and the atmosphere, everything was different. And there was some sort of emotional connection that I felt, that really convinced me that something else was going on. But it took, several years for me to really kind of accept and come to terms with it. That was where my film, a spiritual Bigfoot, came from. Was I wanted to share that. I was able to get to that point where I did accept it, and I wanted people to understand that you need to look at that. You need to keep your mind open, and if you want to get beyond just trying to get that, billion to one DNA sample to finally prove Bigfoot, or to add to your footprint collection, if you want to do something more, that there is something out there to be had. So let's like I call it, I wrote a blog article for one of my websites years ago called Unboxing Your Bigfoot. And I think I was kind of ahead of myself at that time, but it's true, kind of removing the preconceived notion that it's not real, or that it's a big monster, and really accepting it for what you actually find when you go out there. What is it you actually encounter? It's not going to be what you expect.
Right. So, if you don't mind my asking, what kind of encounters did you have that, you said there was like that energy shift, that kind of connection?
Well, it started out in, things, I look back on things now and I go, wow, that was a missed opportunity. I was right there, and there's so much more could have happened had I been more open to it. But, it started off with some rock throwing incidences where pebbles were coming through the trees and landing at our feet. And, I was with a group of people, and things that went on for, not just a fleeting, oh, there's a creature, okay, it's gone now, but things that lasted for up to an hour sometimes, where we had these interactions. And then eventually, Tom Powell introduced me to some psychic mediums, and we started working with them. And the whole intent there was to kind of remove get myself out of the way. It was to try to help me kind of just connect with the earth and be in the moment, really being present in the moment. And then when I finally was able to do that for the first time was in Oregon at Tom Powell's house with a psychic medium named Tish Paquette. and basically we were sitting on a bench in the woods behind Tom's property at night, and we were doing a meditation, and something approached me from behind, got within 6 feet of me, and I could just feel this giant ball of emotional energy just swirling around in my chest.
Hmm.
And it felt like a sort of like a hug from the inside. It was very pleasant, but
Mm.
very surprising. And never once was I afraid. I knew what was happening. You just knew that there was a energy transfer from something. I could hear it. And then it kind of faded, and I opened my eyes and I looked back, and there was gone. There was nothing there.
Mhm.
But the whole woods sort of had this glow to it. There was just
Mhm.
a gray tint that slowly faded after that was over, and that's when I knew that something had happened.
All right. So, in your opinion, you would say that whatever, what we call Bigfoot is, it would be a benign being.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of, and it's not just Bigfoot. There's a lot in the world in general. There's a lot of fear being preached. People that gets
Mm.
ratings, and people want to hear about the monsters and the bad things
Mm.
out there, and I think that's gotten into a lot of people's heads, and I just don't. My experience have never ever been that way, but I could see where one might feel threatened. Like you could interpret the
Mm.
feelings I had as some sort of attack, if
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you weren't prepared and you weren't in that situation like I was, you might think, oh my god, it tried to do something to me, but it
Mm.
wasn't. It was far from that. But I could see how people could think that way.
What do you think of the it's interesting because we have a lot of talk these days about the I'm sure you heard about the 411 missing persons.
Yeah, yeah, I know
And
David
there's a
Pilates.
yeah, so there's the whole talk, could it be aliens? Could, something like Bigfoot be responsible for this? And some people think that it is,
Yeah, yeah,
these beings are like nabbing people, but then there's people like yourself that have had positive experience. There's Dr. David Greer with his I think it's CE5, they call it,
yep,
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where they initiate contact
yep,
with UFOs, and they get things on film. They get experiences, and they say this is all very positive. These beings aren't looking to take over the earth. They're not looking to hurt us.
right.
So what would your thought be on the whole missing 411? If it's not Bigfoot, if it's not the UFOs, who or what is it?
That's an excellent question. I mean, I'm certainly not here to badmouth anybody. I like David Pilates a lot. I think he's doing great things.
Mm.
The notion for me that Bigfoot is out there kidnapping people is just, I just don't believe that at all. I hate to say that I think it's ridiculous, but I kind of do.
Mm.
And again, I kind of point to, um, again, no offense to anyone, but it's what people want to hear. I mean,
Mm.
it's what sells when people that aren't Bigfoot people go out and they accidentally have an encounter that terrifies them. And that's the feeling that they have with it. But I would argue, was it really a terrifying experience, or was your reaction just to be terrified?
Yeah.
Because again, it's not that I've had some positive experiences. I'm telling you, every single experience I've ever had has been positive.
Mm.
I have not had any point in time where I'm like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
It's but again, I'm open to the possibility that this thing is not going to hurt me. Like we used to joke in the early days, um, you got to hold your ground if it's a bluff charge, if they're bluff charge you. So then if you want to know the difference between a bluff charge and a real charge, it's that last step. So
Yeah.
you have to hold your own and hope you don't get knocked over. You have the stomach for that. Because it
Yeah.
does. It takes you have to sort of be comfortable with yourself to really be able to accept what's happening.
Yeah. And it's like Dr. David Greer says, um, not David Greer. What is it? David Greer? I just said his name. Why am I
I think
saying
so.
David Greer? But he says, it's kind of the thing to make us be afraid. You
Right.
know, you know, the powers that be don't want us to think or know. There's something, higher than ourselves out there, something beyond ourselves.
Right.
We're all into national security, our airspace, whatever the case may be. So of course everything is seen as a threat,
Yeah.
even if they don't understand it.
Well,
So how much?
we've
Oh,
we've
go ahead.
we've taken some of our shows and our movies and stuff, and we've pitched them to some of the television networks and things. I mean, that's kind of what you do when you're in this business. And we get the same story. If you make it scary, we'll talk to you. They don't want to show stuff like this on television.
Oh
That's not
no.
what their audience wants. So
Mm,
we're going against the grain here with what we're doing, but I believe in it so wholeheartedly. I put myself out there and I deal with the haters, and for the most part, I find people really kind of get it. And sometimes it surprises me that people get it, but it's been very encouraging, and there's a lot more to come for sure.
yeah. There was something else another question I was gonna pop on you there.
Well, think about that.
Um,
There's one thing I'll add for you. When we did the Bigfoot alien connection reveal, that was sort of where we were. Let's see and let's investigate. Is it potentially of alien origin? And
mm,
then from there, we did a lot of theory kind of work behind the scenes, and then we went out and we did a show called The Paranormal Highway where we tested these things. Let's try different electronic pieces of equipment and see what kind of interactions we can get. And within that, we kind of figured out that we can kind of make things appear,
mm,
which really brought in the interdimensional side into our heads. So we did a movie called The Bigfoot Alien, or Alien Contact in the Rockies, which
mm,
where we think we may have either opened or found this like portal that things came through. And
mm,
at that particular time, we were still kind of thinking alien. But since then, we've moved on to more of the interdimensional side, and some of the filming and things that we're now trying are bringing energy sources to these places that we can actually um, break that veil and have interactions um, through some sort of interdimensional veil that we open. And we've had some level of measurable success, which has been really fascinating and really unexpected.
and what would you say to the people? Because I know there's a lot of people that hear things like that, even with paranormal investigations, and they say, well, you shouldn't play with that sort of thing because it's all evil. It's all, just
Right,
these
right.
evil, or demonic entities looking to deceive. So that really puts a lot of fear in people, especially if they encounter, or even if it is positive, they say, well, it's some, diabolical thing
Yeah.
masquerading as the angel of light, so to speak. So what could you tell people that would maybe calm that fear a little bit, that not everything is the monster trying to get us?
That's that. And I mean, that's the conclusion I've come to where I'm at right now is that's the number one thing. When I run a couple of different events where I take people out and show them the ropes. Here's how you do the Bigfoot stuff. And
Mm,
overcoming the fear is the number one thing. If you can do that, if you can get past that, there's so much more out there. So what do I say to that? We we really feel like we're sort of being led along now. Like a lot of the things that happen, my father-in-law, who I do most of these films with, like, he calls it
mm,
synchronicity, where things just start to line up that put us in a position and something happens. And we're like, if you think about all the things that led up to us even being there, it's mind blowing. Like, so
yeah.
it starts to become this idea of this didn't happen by accident. And
Yeah.
if you can start to think that way, you every one of us, we're missing things. There's things that are coming at us that we're like, whoa, I don't know what's happening here.
Mm,
And you kind of want to push it away. But there's just some sort of being led down this road. And then when we follow that and we get to the end of that road, we're rewarded. We have some sort of visual video captured evidence. We have some sort of interaction, some sort of encounter. So there's validation to us in a positive way that we followed the breadcrumbs and it led us to where we were supposed to be. And it's
mm,
happened over and over and over again over since 2019. Everything we've done has led us to the next thing, led us to the next thing. We get somewhere and they're like, you guys are awesome. You got to go talk to so-and-so. And we go talk to so-and-so and we go out to, you know, out east somewhere and we have some other big encounter. It's just one thing after another. So what I would say is just pay attention to your environment, listen to your heart, and put that fear aside. Just believe in yourself and believe that the world is not trying to kill you.
Yeah, for sure. Probably our fellow man would try to kill us before some of these if they wanted to do us in, Bigfoot aliens, they certainly could have and would have done it a long time ago.
Sure. Well, the other thing is, I'm very cognizant of what we're doing, very respectful when I'm out there. If we were different, aggressive, and maybe things turned out differently. But I think a lot of it is you get back what you put out. So if you go out there with good intentions, there's a really good chance you'll have a positive experience. If you go out there with a gun trying to get your DNA, that might cause some problems. I don't know. I've not done that.
Yeah. Do you think there's because I know where I used to live, where all this paranormal and the Bigfoot encounter happened, was all once upon a time Native American land. Is a place, Orange County, New York. There's a Middletown, New York.
Okay, yeah.
And if you look up the Orange County Fair in Middletown, New York, there's been several write-ups in the paper because the fairgrounds is right on an Indian burial ground. And every year at the same time, they would have this torrential rain, and they called it the curse of the Orange County Fair, because it was on the Indian burial ground. But
sure.
It's a really, back in the day, I grew up there, a really strange area. And then right on the outskirts of Middletown, there's a little town called Slate Hill. And then, about 5-10 minutes outside of Slate Hill is South Centerville, where I grew up. And there's Minisink School. It's all Indian land, and it's just like I said, it's a place where everybody has a story.
Right.
Everybody has seen something. Everybody has heard something. Some people say there's like a big black cloud that's hanging over Middletown. That when you get there, everything just and I've seen what they mean by that, but I also think it was kind of mindset. I had that when I was younger. And everything I did was always just a brick wall in front of me. But then once I got older and said, Middletown's not so bad, and really, what's out to get me?
Right.
It became a different place, and everybody around me was saying, "Oh boy, what a miserable place." But
the woods can do the same thing. If you are the same way in the woods, it'll be the same. It'll be the same way. I guarantee it.
Yeah, definitely.
So to talk about the Native American side, if you wanted me to.
Yes. I wanted to see if you think there's maybe a connection, that maybe these were beings that they used to, commune with, or.
So the spiritual Bigfoot, the whole concept behind it wasn't so much tied to Native American, but it was too. And not to say that I'm doing Native American rituals or anything, but it's much respect and throwback to the Native Americans. I think they kind of had it right. The fact that their connection to the environment, the nature, the world we live in was much stronger than ours. We're more focused on our daily lives, but they were more connected to the earth and things around them. And I really think that's the key to understanding Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I think, that's kind of what maybe one of their purposes is to try to get us more in touch with ourselves and more about living in the moment and just, we're here and now, take it in. There's birds all around you, listen to them. It's all about being connected with the whole universe, including our fellow man. I mean, we're all here together in the same way. It kind of a throwback to the, the 60s and 70s, peace and love. I mean, it really kind of comes down to that. And that's sort of what I kind of feel is at least part of the message that they're trying to tell us is we need to all get along and be who we're supposed to be, and not all this other crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, there's probably so much more to life that we would be connected with if we just got away from the I don't know, the 9-to-5 mentality, the materialism mentality. It just blocks so much, from our experiences, from our sight. And, you see people will say, well, I never saw a ghost. I never saw, Bigfoot. Well, and then they'll turn around and say, because I don't believe in that crap.
Right. Right.
And that's the thing. If you shut yourself down and say it's not there, it's not, chances are you're not going to be open
You're
to seeing
exactly
it.
right. And I firmly believe we're a part of something bigger than
Mm,
just our 9 to 5. I mean, I think there's more out there. There's more to come. I mean, be it when we die or whatever. I think we're part of the whole universe in some ways, and we've just kind of lost our way, I think, to some degree, or we don't
mm,
understand that, or we don't want to accept that. But when you look out at night and you see all the stars, I mean, we're one of them. We're part of all that.
yeah,
We need to worry a little less about ourselves and be more connected to everything, I think.
definitely. And hopefully we'll learn sooner than later, because
Hopefully.
we're not doing such a great job here in 2023.
No, we're definitely kind of heading in the wrong direction as a planet in some ways.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder that, you hear like some of the Native American prophecies, and, of course there's, the Christian, the Jewish, so many of the different traditions talk about, someone or something, the kingdom of God, the realm of God intervening at a certain point in our history, when things are like, so bad.
Right.
We've messed this place up, so in such a state. And I sometimes wonder, I sometimes think that's true, that I don't know that we're capable as a species, at least most of us, you know of pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps and saying, hey, what are we doing? What am I doing?
Right.
I think it's going to take a serious shock, like, holy cow,
Right. Like
before people
an
learn.
invasion of alien craft. All of a sudden, we're like,
Yeah.
we better get ourselves together because we're needed as a unified group to fend off whatever this is. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily where we're headed, but yeah, there is some sort of you know, however you want to view it, through religion or otherwise. But I think everyone is sort of thinking about the same thing, just in different ways. However, you
Hmm.
want to sort of compartmentalize it so that you can digest that information.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's probably bigger than any one religion. But I don't know. I think it all kind of makes sense in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people don't see that it's the one way or no way, but when you
Yeah.
look at all the different religions, you definitely see common threads.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You see a lot of wisdom. And I don't think we're going to be, under some interdimensional and interplanetary threat to bring us together. But
Right.
I think if and when those things intervene, into our reality, it's to show us, there's a better way.
Right. Right.
You're not in this alone, and it's time to grow up, or you're just gonna annihilate yourself in this beautiful planet you live on.
And I kind of feel like that could potentially be one of the answers to the question of why Bigfoot, and what does it want? What's it doing here? Why does it do
Mhm.
what it does? That may be part of the picture. I mean, that's sort of kind of direction I'm being led a little bit, I'm willing to entertain that idea.
Yeah, it could be. When it comes to, I'll share my encounter now, so you can digest this. So again, growing up in this little town, South Centerville, New York, on the outskirts of Middletown in Orange County. And let's see, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was like 9, 10 of us, neighborhood kids, all the brothers and sisters. We were always out doing something. There were those of us who were teenagers, and then there was, 2 or 3 younger kids, who were, maybe 10, 11, 8, 9. And this started in the summer of 1981, where all the little kids kept coming to us. And if you went outside of my house, there was a road in front of the house, Route 6. And if you went down Route 6, just, a little ways, less than quarter of a mile, there's another, little road that shot off. And there was a Catholic church. It's still there, Holy Cross Church to the left. And country road, if you kept going, about a half mile down the road is this big rock on the side of the road, this big boulder. And so we just call it the Big Rock. We're going to take a walk to the Big Rock. We're going to ride our bikes to the Big Rock. So the little kids kept coming to us saying, don't ride your bike down to the Big Rock at night. Don't walk down to the Big Rock at night. There's something in the woods. And we never answered them. We just looked at them. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we're back talking about, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, that was our thing. And so this goes on and it fades out, a little bit. And then it was the late summer of 1981 when me and a friend of mine were walking down the road, and we're just about to the Catholic church. And it was one of those like really dark moonless nights, really black. There was some faint light from the lights in the parking lot of the church, but you couldn't see much if you looked at the woods across the road. And my friend stops and he like grabs my shoulder and he goes, "What the hell is that?" And I'm looking, I'm like, what? And he's like, right there across the road. And I'm like, where? He's like, right there. And he takes off running. And I'm squinting into the dark, and I saw something big and black that was like darker than the night, but I couldn't tell what it was, and I just figured he saw something a lot more horrifying than I did. So I turned around and started running as well. Fast forward to the February of 1982, cold, snowy, all the families grocery shopped on Friday nights. So my family usually got home first. So I went out for a walk, waiting for everybody to get home, waiting for my friends to get home. So I go down to the church. If you walk down the road, there's a parking lot, long road that goes down to the front of the church. Then you hang a right, you go to the front of the church, and there's a big parking lot on the side, and then a Sunday school building, farther over to the left. And there's some, parking, street lights in there. So I hang the right, I walk to the front of the church, I get right to the corner, or I'm about to step into the parking lot, and I look up over toward the Sunday school building. And this thing comes walking out from the side of the Sunday school building, right under the light. And it's huge. I was like 5'8" at the time. It had to be 2 of me or better. I mean, under the street light, this thing was gigantic. You could see the definition in the chest and the biceps. It was like broad, this huge, muscular. And it's standing there with its head up like it's sniffing the air. And I just freeze. And I'm thinking, A, what the hell is that? B, what is it smelling? Does it smell me? And if so, am I dinner? This is
Right.
So, and I see this thing clear as day. It's just standing there sniffing the air. It's not a bear because it's February, it's freezing cold. There's crusty, at least 1.5 feet of crusty, ice encapsulated snow on the ground. So I just slowly back up, turn around and run. It's like, no way. So other kids, saw the black shape at night, heard things in the woods. Everybody's creeped out. I tell everybody what I saw. They're like, yeah, there's something out there. So then fast forward to that October 1982. Me and my brother and a friend of ours, Dave, decide we're going to go hunt for this local Bigfoot. We're going to find it. So we arm ourselves, and this is always my favorite part of the story. Like this would have done if we met this thing and it was hostile. We armed ourselves with a dagger that I found in my kitchen drawer that my father had. I guess it was an antique. I don't know. Had an eagle on the handle. So we had a dagger, a baseball bat, and a pair of homemade nunchucks that were made out of a shovel handle held together with two, eyes and a a dog chain.
Wow, I would have liked to seen you fight a 8-foot Bigfoot with nunchucks. That would have been.
Hey, man.
I got him.
So we go all the way down to the big rock. We cut up into the woods. We go all the way up in the back. We're walking all around, a few hours looking for anything, nothing. The woods on the opposite side of the road. We're just combing through the woods looking. We know you're here, kids, idiots.
Right.
So we're coming back home. We're walking back home, and there's this little bridge that you cross. And no, this was right before the bridge. There's this little ditch, little hill, and then a field with a few sparse small trees in it, and then a few trees at the wood line. Wasn't very thick. It's still not, you could see right into the woods there. It was very sparse, small trees. Most of the leaves were off the trees by then because it was like a week till Halloween. And we hear across this field coming from the woods, this roar. Sounds like a lion. Roar! So we stop and we're like, holy crap, what is that? So we keep hearing it. We're like, okay, I must know we're looking for it. And there it is. This roar comes across the fields, getting closer, closer, closer till it's right in front of us. I would say 2.5 feet, 3 feet at the most, right in front of us. And my brother has this horrified look on his face, and he goes, I don't know what the hell that is, but it's invisible. He goes, let's get the hell out of here. So we take off running. And that was the extent of the up close and personal encounters.
Right.
I look back now, and I like you, when I saw it in the churchyard, I feel like it was an opportunity missed. Because if this
it
thing wanted
showed
to
itself
catch
to
me,
you for a reason.
Yeah.
That was something that it chose to do. Now, did that experience change you in some way? And are you different now because of it? Did you, you've got a podcast now. Maybe that wouldn't have happened. It probably let you down a certain path that you took and you didn't even realize it.
It could. My thing is, since I was a little kid, I saw things and people that shouldn't have been there, call them spirits, call them angels, call them whatever. So I always had those encounters with, the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
You're just prone to that kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember, the first one I remember when I was little, just getting off different little story here. I remember when I first graduated from the crib to the bed, I always felt like someone was in the room with me watching over me, and I felt safe, like it was someone that I knew. And many times there was a shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room. Sometimes it would sit on the foot of the bed if I wasn't feeling well. And, I just always sensed it. I always felt comforted by it. I remember when I was 3 years old, and again, they could shoot me up with sodium pentothal, and I'll tell this story the way I've told it many times to people. Christmas Eve at my grandmother's house, where we used to live, there was my parents' house, 30-second walk down the driveway, my grandparents' house. They were like right next door. It's Christmas Eve. My grandmother and mother are making all the pies and cookies. That was always their thing. Christmas Eve, they did all that. I was on the couch. I was kind of tired. I kept asking, "Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy?" My mother was saying, "He's working. He'll be here pretty soon." He finally comes in. He's talking to my grandmother and mother for a while, and my mother says, "Well, he's getting tired. Paul's getting tired. Take him up, put him in bed. I'll be up in a few minutes." So, my father puts my coat on, and he picks me up. He carries me outside. As soon as we step outside of my grandmother's house, I remember all these Christmas lights. It was like a Christmas magic land out there. And I'm looking at it over my father's shoulder going, wow, this must have been, when Daddy was at work, this is what he was doing, putting all this up, I mean, there was these light up candy canes, lights on the house. I mean, candles lining the driveway going up to, my parents' house. I remember this like it was yesterday. And as we're walking and I'm looking at all this, I look to the left and there's this old fashioned street light that they would put like candles or kerosene lamps in. And it's lit, but I couldn't tell you what it was lit by. And there's the typical green garland with the red bow on it. And I remember looking at it going, was that always there?
Hmm.
I don't know if I remember seeing that before, And then out of the shadows steps this woman. I could still remember her face. She had, longer blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, brown coat, like a trench coat that came to about her knees. She had her hands in her pockets. She stepped out right next to the light, looked at me as we passed by, smiled, and just said, "Merry Christmas."
Hmm.
And I'm looking at her, trying to identify her. Is this a family friend? There was a family friend that they nicknamed Toots. And I remember looking at her going, is that Toots? Did Toots come for Christmas? That can't be Toots. Toots has dark hair. This girl's hair is too light. But yeah, things like that all the
Wow.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy as it sounds. So, whether I'm just open to it, it sensed something, but yeah, there it was. Did it change me at all? It definitely compounded the fact for me that there's more to life, more to our world
Yeah.
than we realize or care to think about for most people.
I could see, whatever it is, gravitating towards you in a way of um, someone who can help,
Mhm.
help them spread the word or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I look at the growl because I've heard people say, they have a sense of humor,
Oh yeah.
So, it obviously knew we were out there looking for it.
Yep.
And the way I look at it now is that either it was just telling us, "Hey, I'm here for a bigger purpose. Get
Yeah.
lost,
It
you
was in a
stupid
mocking way.
kid."
Certainly was in
Yeah,
a mocking way. I believe that.
yeah. But again, if it was going to grab us, 411 us away, hurt us in some way,
But it happened.
yeah, it like I said, it was literally that growl was like
Yeah.
2.5 feet in front of it. It could have reached up over that little embankment that was maybe 1.5 feet tall and
Yeah.
just grabbed us and tore us to shreds. We were out there by ourselves.
Oh yeah.
But no, both times, no harm befell anybody. It didn't chase anybody. It didn't chase me. So back then it was kind of scary seeing this and hearing this, but
Well,
now
sure.
now I say no. There had to be something else, because if it wanted to do harm, it certainly could have no problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember my first night hike or night Bigfoot squatching or whatever you want to call it, was about 15 minutes because it was so intense. I'm like, we're out of here. It took several years to really get comfortable and where you kind of don't feel that, and that's when things started to become more clear for sure.
Mhm. And I remember in your one documentary as well, you talked about orbs often being a part of the whole Bigfoot scenario. And this was my brother and two of our friends were in the woods in back of the Catholic church one night, and they were just back there walking, talking, whatever they were doing. And my brother happened to look up and saw this glowing orange ball. He said it was meandering through the woods, like going
Mhm.
around the trees, almost like it was conscious, like it was walking, just kind of navigating through the woods. And he, again, that was our big thing. What the hell is that? He points at it, as, yells at, look, what the hell is that? Everybody turns and looks. And he says, as he points at it and yells for everybody to look, it stops. And suddenly it like speeds up in the opposite direction, flies and hits a tree and just explodes in like a ball of flame that you said you heard. It just went whoosh and it was
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
You know.
It's one of the things we teach in our camp out weekend is, um, when you hear things, you refer to your, like, if straight ahead was noon and behind you was 6, and you call out your position on where you hear something, but we don't point, we don't shine lights, we don't draw attention to the fact that we hear it. And the
Mm,
reason we do that is that seems to, allows it to come closer, and then you can have more of a contact type experience than just a fleeting visual of something. So we teach that to, don't point, don't be like, there it is. We we're like, okay, so I heard some footsteps at 3 o'clock that sounded pretty heavy, and then we're like, okay, let's just stop here a minute and listen, and then
mm,
that's how we're able to sometimes put people in positions to have their own experience, which, we're pretty good at. It happens usually 1 or 2 groups a year has their own encounter of some kind.
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense because probably our energy, whether that's disrupting to them, or they just realize, we're kind of not receiving them the way that they would like us to. If we're like, oh my
That's what
God,
I
look at
think.
that,
Yeah, we're scaring them. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that could be it. I mean, I don't know any of this for sure. This is all just from my personal experiences, this is the opinions that I currently have, and, you talk to me in a year or two, maybe I'm singing a different tune. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you'll get a lot more information, than somebody like myself. That's I used to do um, some small paranormal investigations. I've been recently, the last couple of years, little by little, kind of getting out there, and I have some tools, but certainly nothing like you guys would have to
Yeah.
go out there and find, collect the data that you're getting.
Yeah. So right now we're trying to corroborate, um, experiences. We usually try to get 2 to 3 things happening at once, be it, personal experience counts, some sort of environmental change, and then, some of these fancier ghost tools trying to pick up anomalies through there, either, changes in temperature or orbs in the sky or whatever. And that's, we're doing it. We're getting that kind of result where we can have 2, 3 things happen all at the same time that kind of all
Mm.
corroborate each other. And it puts together a pretty solid case for, what our current theories are.
So what do you got coming up? I know your last documentary was spiritual Bigfoot. What's coming up after that?
So, well, right now we just finished filming, um, for, a documentary on the Bradshaw Ranch, which is in Sedona, Arizona. It's similar to the Skinwalker Ranch in a lot of ways, where you've got, paranormal type activity, you've got cryptid activity, you've got, craft in the sky.
Mhm.
There's some, potential government involvement. There's just a lot of different things going on out there, and we've been able to do some pretty remarkable things that, are gonna, I think, open up some people's minds to things, because we're able to really, show some data that says, hey, whatever's going on here wasn't happening when we got here.
Mhm.
It's happening now, and now we're having very strange things going on. So, the Bradshaw Ranch, I'm not sure what exactly it'll be titled, probably something similar to that, will be the next big one. I'm really excited for people to see that. We
Yeah, that
just
sounds
finished up a
awesome.
film on, Bigfoot of Bailey, which is, Bailey, Colorado. It's a shorter film, but it really showcases some of the things that have been going on up there that we've been involved with. Yeah, there's always something cooking. I've got 3 or 4 things in production right now, so, lots and lots more to come.
Awesome. Do you ever think you'll investigate Skinwalker Ranch?
Actually, we have, to some degree. We
Nice.
were we were at the Phenomicon last year. We got invited to speak, and that's in Vernal, Utah, which is about 30 minutes from Skinwalker Ranch. And the Skinwalker Ranch cast was there. and we said to one of them, hey, we want to try some things out there. What can you tell us? It's like, here's a GPS coordinate. It's not on the ranch, but it's the closest you can get to the ranch.
Mm.
So we went there and we did an investigation and got some pretty interesting things. We were pretty much at the fence of the property line overlooking the ranch. So we, 3 steps across the fence, we would have been on their property, but we didn't.
Wow.
But we did our investigation there, and we got some things to show for it. So
Mm. Yeah, I was telling you before the show, for a number of years I've been doing like the spiritual counseling and spiritual readings for people. And this was, I want to say maybe 2012, that I actually booked a call with someone. It was a woman. Her first question was, she goes, basically, I want to know if there's a curse on me, if there's anything evil following me around. I was like, well, what makes you ask something like that? And she launched into this whole story about a ranch that she lived on, where there was all this paranormal happening going on, creatures, UFOs. She said it was like the most terrifying thing that she ever experienced in her life. And for months she didn't sleep. When she left there were still things like happening, in her home at night. And she said several times, she goes, you might not hear about a lot about it now, but you're going to. She's like, this place is like no other place in the world. They got people coming in now to investigate what's happening on this property, and it was Skinwalker.
Yep. Well, I can tell you from experience, we've met a lot of people and been to a lot of places, and it is not unique to Skinwalker Ranch. It's by far the most famous, but it is not the only place like that at all. We've uncovered several, and we've heard about several more that we hope to get to someday.
Yeah. What is your view on places like that where there's folks like you and I and Stephen Greer? It's not David Greer. Dr. Stephen Greer, who says, well, these things really aren't hostile, but then there's places like Skinwalker Ranch where people were absolutely terrified, saying that this was like living in the middle of hell.
Yeah.
In your opinion, the best maybe you could guess what's going on there that's makes these places so terrifying?
Yeah, well, I think the fear comes from people not understanding and the unknown. So I don't think these places are terrifying. I've been to some of these places and I don't find them terrifying, but they are intense. There are things that happen there. There's energy. As far as what's causing it, I don't know if it's is that where interdimensional beings come in and out? Is it like a portal or a high source of energy that they somehow can use those areas? I'm not really sure, but like I said, I could certainly see how things could be interpreted as terrifying.
Mm.
But I don't think they're meant to be that way. I don't think that they necessarily are. I mean, people, I've had instances where I've, been made to feel sick, like I'm physically ill from whatever effects of whatever happened. But I never felt that was an attack of any kind. I think it was more so that I experienced a high source of energy that the human body's just not acclimated to, and it hit me in a different way than whatever this thing is. But I've seen things in these areas. I've seen what I would consider to be Bigfoot at these places, and all things that could be terrifying if you're not ready for it. And the other thing is, if you live there and you didn't ask for this and it just started happening, it's really inconvenient, and it would be terrifying. I go looking for these places, and I know what I'm getting into when I go there. But if you're not like me, and not many people are, it's overwhelming, and you don't know how to handle it, and then you fall back on, well, what do I know? Well, I know that there's scary movies that tell me this, and podcasts and
Mhm.
TV shows and all these things that tell me that this is bad and dangerous and I'm in danger and all these things.
Yeah.
You don't have any other frame of reference but that. So that's how you
Mhm.
feel. That's how you react.
Yeah, you know what it makes me think of when you say that. Did you ever see the TV show Psychic Kids
No, I
with
didn't.
it was on it was an A&E series, and it has the psychic medium Chip Coffey. I'm sure you
Yeah.
heard of him.
Yeah, for sure.
So basically it's him and his team. They go around and they help kids that are basically seeing spirits.
Right. Right.
These kids are gifted. They're seeing what other people don't. They're afraid, and they teach them how to deal with it.
Yeah.
They have a
Could you imagine
psychologist.
as a kid and you see your deceased grandma in front of you? She might be
Yeah,
there to be like,
yeah,
I'm here to give you love and provide you guidance,
yeah,
but you're like, oh.
yeah. And that's the thing. They I mean, he has a psychologist on his team. To make sure the kids aren't making it up or suffering from some kind of mental
Right.
illness.
Right. Right.
But if it turns out to be a true gift, they teach them how to deal with it, how to deal with these personalities that are showing up in their bedroom at night.
Right.
And it's the same thing. A lot of these kids are petrified. They don't want to go to bed at night. They see things in the night. They're in there screaming. They're terrified.
Yeah.
But then when they come to find out, and Chip Coffey and the team, run them through it, they realize, well, these aren't evil ghosts coming to hurt them. They're souls of people who are stuck. They're looking for help.
Yeah.
And some of them may be a little angry or gruff for whatever reason. They come across like they're mean, but they're looking for something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once they understand that and know how to control it and deal with it, the whole dynamic changes.
Right.
They're not. So same kind of thing, like you're saying with something like Skinwalker Ranch. Is it really a nightmare, or people just don't understand what it is they're dealing with? So, oh my God, it's a monster.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, fear is a response that we create individually. You and I could be in the same place at the same time, having the exact same experience. I'm going to say it was the best day of my life. You're going to be like, oh my God, I almost died.
Yeah.
It really is perspective and how you choose to deal with it. I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice because like I said, you fall back on, I don't know what this is, so all I have is information that says it's bad.
Hmm. Yeah, we used to back in the 80s, me and my friends, we used to just go explore like old dilapidated places, houses,
Yeah.
barns, anything like that we were fascinated with. And it's another place. If you look at the Middletown Psychiatric Center in Middletown, New York, it's abandoned now, but they say it's one of the most haunted places on earth. And even though it's still falling apart, there's still tons of investigation teams that go there,
Oh yeah.
and what they see, what they pick up. And directly across from this place, out in the middle of a field, is this big barn. And the psychiatric center used this barn for storage at one time. So we got the idea. We were just driving around one night and happened to see the barn off in the distance, and we're like, "Hey, let's go there tonight." So we did. And this place, um, again, the activity in this place at night was just insane. It was just like you were saying, you know, if six of us went, there's maybe four of us that are going, man, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And two of us are, practically on the ground, can barely walk. They're so afraid. I remember my friend's
Exactly.
one brother, he was like shaking. He could
Yeah.
barely stand. He was crying. He's like, I never want to go here again.
Yeah, there was a guy we interviewed, and for the life of me, I can't think of who it was now, but he said that one day him and his wife were out, at night, and he saw this light in the sky and this beautiful silver craft, appeared and the light shone down and it flew off at incredible speeds. And they just left him speechless. And later he asked his wife, he's like, "What do you think about that?" And he's like, "Oh, you mean the angel? I saw a beautiful angel appeared
Mm,
from the heavens." But they were,
wow.
they both saw the same thing, but just interpreted it very, very differently. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I remember one time we were leading a ghost hunt in one of those places, an old abandoned nursing home. Lots of bad things happened there, and we were having fun and leading tours and stuff, and a bunch of high school football players showed up, a bunch of bros, and they were there, and they wanted to go off with some equipment and try some things, and we're like, all right, cool. And I was just kind of going around checking on people, and I hear this whispering in the corner, and I flip my flashlight on, and they're all huddled up in the corner, like, "Who is that? What's going on?" They were terrified. They were probably twice the size of me, but they were like 10 times more scared. It was just,
Yeah.
it was really funny.
Yeah. People don't handle that kind of thing well.
No, when you
Yeah.
get people out of their element, it's fun to watch them squirm.
Yeah. The weirdest thing, I mean, there were definitely weird things in this barn, but one night my one friend was having a gathering at his house. His parents were away, so his was the party pad. And we were up till like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, uh, telling our other friend's girlfriend, about this barn. She's like, "I want to go there right now." So we took her. It was like just drizzly, rain October night. And you parked on the side of the road, went down this path, and you came to a fence that said "Do not enter." But we jumped the fence. We entered anyway because we're idiots. And I remember we jumped the fence, and we're walking, toward the barn, and out of the silo comes this blue light. It looked like a searchlight. Went up into the clouds, lit up the sky. The rain clouds above, like a searchlight in the clouds, and it starts zigzagging
Oh, wow.
through the sky, coming toward us. And I didn't think anything of it. Again, I wasn't feeling afraid. I was fascinated, like, what is that? Until my friend yells out, he's like, "Let's get out of here. It's coming right for us." So he turns, he grabs, our other friend's girlfriend. They start running for the fence. So of course I, took off with them. We threw her over the fence. We jumped over the fence. And we're looking back at this, like it was like the headless horseman of Sleepy Hollow. It gets right to that gate that we
Oh,
jumped,
man.
stops in the clouds, backtracks in a zigzag, and goes down into the silo.
Oh, wow.
So that was definitely weird. And
Yeah.
again, one of those things where I was fascinated. I think my one friend's girlfriend was more fascinated than anything else, because she was like, "Oh, I wanted to stand there and see what happened."
You reach out and touch it.
Yeah, but yeah, that was definitely. I kind of suspected Middletown wasn't the greatest place in the world. I kind of expected that maybe some people took some of the patients over there and did things to them that they shouldn't have, and
Yeah.
maybe there were some people that were deceased, and just you know who knows, when this place closed, they didn't ship all, any of the patients anywhere, to other facilities. They just actually emptied the place right on the streets of
Oof.
Middletown.
Wow.
you know so who knows what could have happened when they knew this was coming, knew what they were going to do. Nobody was going to come to claim these people.
Right.
Who knows what they did.
Yeah.
The one night we were in there, and we were it was actually going up into the silo, the ladder on the wall going up into the silo where they stored grain or whatever. And we're walking through the corridor, and we hear somebody up there moaning
Hmm.
loud. They were like, "Ah, ah, ah," and we're like, "Oh my God, somebody from, the psych unit's living up there, all this time. So we're like yelling up there, "Are you okay? Do you need us to call, an ambulance? Do you need us to call the cops?" And they're just, "Ah." They're like, "Oh man, it's risky, but we got to peek up there and see who this is, what kind of shape they're in." So me and my one friend, same guy that saw the light coming out of the silo, we bunch up on this ladder. We go and peek through this little hatch in the wall up into the silo with our flashlights. nobody there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Wow.
so that was the moment I said, I think maybe somebody did some bad things to some people from
Yeah, it could be.
the psych center over here.
Hmm.
But yeah, offbeat stories away from Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, that happens. I am down the rabbit hole now, so
Yeah, I hear you. It's a fascinating journey, that's for sure.
it is. It's been fun. It's been good.
Yeah. Well, as I said, you keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I would suggest again anybody that likes watching documentaries, watch Alan's documentary, Spiritual Bigfoot and the UFO or the Bigfoot Alien Connection. Great documentaries, and you won't regret it. A lot of information there that will make you think. So, man, I appreciate you having this conversation.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Award-winning filmmaker coming on the show to.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
So, hopefully we can do this again sometime with your future works and what you discover and talk about these things, because I'm fascinated with this topic myself, and it's rare, especially in this day and age, to come across people that take it seriously and
Yeah.
Going deeper than just the usual superstitions and fears, or trendy beliefs on what something might be, or it's all just a hoax type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and I still feel like some of our best stuff is still to come because it just keeps getting better and better, so we'll see what happens. I'm not driving the ship, I'm just riding along and filming it as I go.
yeah, and that's usually the way it happens on the spiritual path. Like you said, you're guided.
Yep.
It's
Yep,
one
for
thing
sure.
leads to another, and it's you look back and you say, hey, I wasn't really taking this journey. I was just kind of guided along on it.
It's true. I mean, we were talking to someone in Ohio and Pennsylvania about going out there and doing some filming, and it didn't quite work out. And a week later, we were in Sedona, Arizona, and all the stuff we got, and it was not even on our radar a week before that.
Yeah,
So you just never know.
yeah, that's awesome. I look forward to the new stuff.
Yeah,
Any
can't wait for
dates?
you to see it.
Any dates when do you have for releasing new films? Or
No, nothing locked in yet, but I would anticipate probably later part of this year you'll start to see some of the new stuff coming out.
awesome.
And then there's one other thing I'd like to bring up for you and the viewers. We haven't announced this yet, but I think we're to the point where I can at least drop some heavy hints. We're putting together a spiritual Bigfoot retreat, where we're going to have some people that have some abilities, and we're going to be trying to get your minds open and in contact with Bigfoot through spiritual means, channeling sessions, meditation sessions, workshops in the woods, all that kind of good stuff. So that's something I'd probably look for in September time frame here in Colorado.
Nice. Yeah, that would be awesome. If I had the funds, I'd come join.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be something pretty special. So we'll see what the final details are, and we'll probably have that'll probably be officially announced, tickets and such, probably in the next 2 to 4 weeks, I'm guessing.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be on the lookout. That and it's interesting too that people like yourself, and again, Stephen Greer, people are starting to come to this conclusion that we can initiate contact, with some of these beings through those spiritual means, meditation,
Yep.
and it's just kind of like I guess like mediumship. I myself all my life being even before I knew what it was, a spiritualist. It's the same difference. You go
Right.
into that
Right.
meditative state, you invite those energies in, whether it be deceased loved ones or angelic energies, and they show up.
Yep.
You definitely get experiences that you come out of that meditation going, wow, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and from someone who started out as sort of the ape hunter, it's a tough pill to swallow to get there. You really have to you have to kind of admit you were wrong about some things, and you've got to accept some things you might not be comfortable with. It's a process for sure to get there.
Yeah. It's not so much of a jump though when you think about it, because if this thing was just an animal, certainly we would have had something by now. Somebody would have captured one.
Right,
There would have been a skeleton. There would have been a dead one. There would have been hair with DNA, something.
right, right.
But there's nothing. Nobody's coming up with any physical evidence really at all.
Well, in a lot of ways, we since the Patterson Gimlin film in 1967, we haven't really moved Bigfoot research forward very much.
No, I don't think it's taken seriously, by a lot of people.
Yeah,
It's a lot of people are just now starting to warm up to UFOs and
yeah, yeah.
things in our skies that aren't ours. But a lot of people haven't crossed that threshold of Bigfoot yet. I still think there's some societal growing up
There
to
is,
do, to look
there
at it
is.
through a different lens.
And then the things that do break through are sensationalized television that in some ways isn't helping. I mean, it's bringing
Yeah,
awareness and maybe some acceptability to it, but it's also kind of leading people down the wrong path sometimes, I feel.
yeah, yeah. Just like the ghost hunter shows.
Yeah.
How much of that is I've read a lot of books on paranormal investigations, investigating. I took several courses, and anybody who's serious about it says you don't go in there swearing at the spirits, threatening them. You don't
Right.
you don't go into these places, hey, mother effer, and this is what
Yeah.
you see these people doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then they get attacked and then they get scared, like, oh my God, why is it attacking me?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of what you wanted to happen, right?
Yeah. You reap what you sow.
It's true. I believe that.
Yeah, definitely. But I've taken up a bunch of your time here. I don't even know what time it is. I was trying to keep an eye, but my phone shut off. 9:19, not too bad. Hour 19 minutes.
I appreciate it, man. It was good. I'm glad we were finally able to connect.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight and everything that you're doing, and keep in touch.
Yeah,
To and hopefully as you become rich and famous, you'll come back on the show and
that is by no means my goal here. I'm just trying to keep the word, spread the word, and move some of this forward. I really think that if we can all get together and think about this sort of a little differently, we get some answers finally.
yeah, or at least help some people to connect and start changing the way they live. I always say it's lighting one candle at a time. We light one or two, they light one or two.
I'm happy
you
if
know
I get a couple.
yeah, that's what I always say. If there's a few people that listen to my shows and things I'm talking about, great. you know
Yep, yep,
but again, I appreciate it,
of course.
and hope to have conversations in the future and see more work coming out, and keep us posted on everything.
All right, I will
Or
do.
you
Thank you
know
so much.
you're welcome, and thank you for coming.
Yep.
Let me see if I can remember how to turn off record here. Everybody watching, bear with me. There we go.